Lumos. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Shellcats Radio. I'm your host, Ezra, a.k.a. Bill, also known as Sir Ezra the Watchful, History Magic Professor, the Flannel Wizard, obviously. Yours truly, me. Please welcome your lovely design witch, the fascination of this year, Triwizard Champion herself, and my wonderful co-host, and yours, Lottie, a.k.a. Fleur.
Hallo und einen wunderschönen guten Tag. It's so good to have you back in our beautiful little cottage on the outskirts of Tinworth. Kommt rein und macht's euch gemütlich. Welcome to episode 89, in which we discuss Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This week we'll talk about Chapter 10, Mayhem at the Ministry. We'll give you a quick life update with our homemade cottage ketchup, feed our brains with important trivia knowledge, and then dive head on into our chapter summary audio experience. And the very first thing I want to say before I forget, thank you guys so much for all the positive, kind, and encouraging words that you sent us last week after we shared on the episode that I quit my job. And
Yeah.
most of us probably know what it feels like to make a big decision like that, even though it is important to us, and me personally, to learn to depend less on outside validation and praise. It still was very nice to get positive feedback from so many of you last week. So,
Absolutely.
Thank you for reaching out. We are truly rooting for all of you guys out there to go do your thing, whatever that may be. Okay, I'm done. This was my transition into cottage ketchup.
Yay! That was a great transition. That was really good. And honestly, sincerely though, we always have. We've said for over a year now that we're rooting for you guys, and we want to root for each other, right?
Yes.
We're seeking positive Potter people that don't behave like babbling, bumbling bands of. Some people are like, "This show's over. They already. Y'all can't say that as no." Sorry, guys. No, but truly, I mean, it's like you got to follow your gut, and ever since we met, that's been our thing. It was to follow our gut decisions, and it's let us down.
Because so many things were against us when we met.
Yeah.
A lot of circumstances, a lot of people in our lives, and which is okay. Like, you know, we probably don't always give perfect advice to other people too.
No,
and they have to make
know.
their own decisions. They have to live their own lives.
Right.
So
yes, you have to seek the calm, the peace, the quiet. I'm right now. I'm having a Kung Fu Panda moment. Where,
I thought
where
Jedi meditation.
Well, that too. But you know when he's what's his name, Master Shifu?
Yes.
He's like inner calm, or what's he say, inner peace, or something like that. He's always trying to find it.
Yeah.
But you do, because there's so much noise going on in the world that I mean. Yeah, you got to figure out what it is that you really want to do. There's so many things telling you to go this way, do this. You got to be into this. You have to do that thing. You have to watch Bridgerton. My God, if you're not watching Bridgerton, then what are you doing with your life? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, you don't understand half the memes that are online right now.
Right. If you're not listening to Harry Potter podcast, then like, what are you doing with your life? You know, I mean, no, but seriously, what are you doing with your life? Just kidding. Anyway, so into cottage ketchup. Mm-hmm. Can I tell you something?
Yes, please.
I just have to get it off my chest, okay? If, like, I would take a Marauder's map just to stare at you all night long. You've got my heart on lockdown like a Gringotts vault.
Wow.
That was lame.
Well, it doesn't seem to be that safe because Molly
Dang
Weasley could just get Harry Potter's money from there. So
Yeah, I'm here to get some money for my son's best friend. Like, can you let me in his vault? Do you have his key, madam?
Do you have his wand?
No, I don't have anything. Just believe me. Weird. Anyway.
Okay,
Sure, go ahead. I also wanted to say, though, you know, I don't know, I've been looking at you, I've been thinking about you, and I just want to say, did you survive Avada Kedavra? Because you're drop dead gorgeous.
Wow.
Is that dumb? These are dumb. This is literally a list of like 200.
I can't believe you found more.
Oh, there's 200 on here. There's like 200 of these.
Bless that person who spent all that time to make these up.
I'm seriously into you. I'm trying to help out some of our younger Potter fans. Go out there and mix and mingle, y'all. Okay? Hit the dance floor and throw something down. Throw some charm in there. Yeah, anyways. So, actually, speaking of charm, here we go. So,
Excuse-moi.
We may not be in Professor Flitwick's class, but you sure are charming. Anyway.
Oh, gosh.
How you doing? How's life in the cottage?
What's going on in the cottage?
In the cottage, so we've got like some. We've been jamming. We went and worked out. We had a long drive. We listened to the chapter, took some notes. We had a little brekkie this morning.
Yippers.
What we slept in. It was good. It's the weekend.
Yes.
We're recording this, so love you guys.
Really feel like our bodies need that sleep.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to catch up on sleep because we've been getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning every day, and some people are like, "Boo-hoo! I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day." So,
right.
You guys are right. It's not that big of a deal, but it's just like your body is giving you clues when you have that downtime. Get some sleep. Honestly, we've been going to bed like right before midnight and not getting up before 10.
Yeah,
just because
I think it's a thing.
It's just
in our world, I think literally every health expert is always sort of like, if you just got an extra hour or two or more of sleep, and people are like, when do I get that?
Right.
Where would I
with
find
all the responsibilities and things you need to do?
How do I live? But yeah, it is kind of nice. So
it is. It feels good.
Any hoozles, here in the cottage, though, we've just been kind of digging in, trying to get into our summer feels here. I went out the other day and helped my dad power wash a house. This is why I like the summer, because we don't just, we do our content, we do our thing, we're digging away at the things that we love, but there's 100 different things that we have pushed off during the school year that we're like, we'll do it in the summer, okay? Please hit us up in the summer. I got you, Dad. It's fine.
Yep.
And first week, he's just got me lined up. Job, here we go. We're out there on a ladder, up there, power washing, ruined my shirt for it's whatever,
I mean, can you imagine, like...
I love it, though.
Arthur and Molly, like their kids are home in the summer. They all probably have chores they have to do, like feed the chickens, even like give the barn a new magically, or the Muggle way, a new paint over.
Yeah. Speaking of chickens, my niece is in 4-H, and we're going to go see her this summer as she shows some chickens. What else is she doing? She's doing something else. I think she has a small pony or a horse that she's kind of tending to. And there's something else.
Learning about farming in this whole... How long is that course or class?
She's been doing it. She's been doing it over the past year and stuff.
Okay.
So she's got a couple things. You have to have a certain number of entries into the fair to get into the fair.
Yeah.
So she'll one day be over in the chicken coop. The next day she'll be over doing some sort of arts and crafts thing. And then she also did, I think she's showing a pony.
That's cool.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So my sister's friend has horses, and she's all about that. And she runs the 4-H club, and so there you go. My nephew, he's running around like crazy, man. He got to see his Aunt Lottie yesterday, and was it yesterday? 2 days ago? Not sure, but I could tell. Was it yesterday? Wow. See, time is just really distorted right now. But I could tell he loved hanging. He loves Aunt Lottie, and he loves hanging out. He's just a wild man. Yeah, that's fun. It was fun to see them again, and my niece, she just got off of school, so now she's spending a lot of time with my nephew, and so my sister, I don't know if I ever mentioned this a few months back, just had a baby. So don't know if I mentioned that or not.
Baby number 3.
Yeah, baby number 3, and so
Miss Ruby.
Beautiful, and we've been having a great... She was just nibbling on my arm the other day.
Oh yeah, she's so funny.
She was just chewing on it.
She likes chewing on arms.
She does, and she is adorable.
Drooling.
And then she slept on me for like an hour, 2 hours straight. Remember that? And I was like, my arm is going... Come on now, somebody... Because I'm the type of person who... And I helped raise my niece, Rachel. Yeah. So the whole 9 yards, I was literally the caretaker for the whole summer. That was wild. And I learned a lot. But I mean, when I was like, man, my arm is, because I don't want to move.
Right.
They're all talking like it's no problem. There's normally dogs barking, and in my sister's house, it's chaos. But I was holding my niece, Ruby, and I was like, I'm like a statue, you guys. I'm like a straight statue. I'm not moving at all. This child will sleep. She is going to sleep. She's dreaming. She's making cute faces.
You know how babies are so cute when they sleep and they have both of their hands over their head this up there.
That was her.
Oh, she was out.
She was out.
Great.
It was great.
All right.
So there you go.
You can tell we're proud uncle and aunt this summer and always actually. But
it's our mushy gushy little cottage catch up for you guys. Okay.
Yeah, some good feels.
What else is going on? By the way, news.
Yes.
Want you guys to know for my American friends. I don't know if you guys know about this, but the European Cup is going down. Real football is happening this summer.
Real football. I like
it. And it's taking place in Germany. Y'all.
Yes.
What's the cup called? Is it European?
EM, which is Europa Meisterschaft.
Okay.
Europa, Europe. And then Meisterschaft is like championship. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we just call it short EM or EM. Yeah.
But I will say, I don't remember when. Not sure if this episode will have came out by then or not, but Scotland is playing Germany.
Yeah.
So
June 14th, guys. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
June 14th?
Isn't it?
Today's the 1st. That's 2 weeks away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, so this podcast will have... I thought you meant that the episode will have... Or that the game will have happened before the episode comes out.
Nope.
Okay, cool. Still have time to get our predictions in there. I'm thinking
Scotland against Germany. That's the kickoff.
You ready for this one?
In Munich.
I'm calling the score on this game.
Okay.
2-1 Scotland.
Ooh.
Bold move.
I think I want I don't know. I feel like I love Scotland so much, and obviously, but I'm rooting for Germany, so I want like a tie.
You want a tie? Okay. Yeah.
It'd be great. We love seeing lots of goals. So if a 3-3 tie would be great.
Oh my God,
that'd
be sick. That'd be awesome. Yeah. But I know we love we love Scotland and we love Germany. I only have those stake in those two countries really over there. So there you go. I'm rooting for both. But they're playing the opening game is like between those two countries, and for you and I, it's like we got married in Scotland. So
I know.
It's crazy.
It's awesome.
Wild to think about. Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on.
What's going on?
I don't know. Not much. So that's pretty much it, though. That's the major cottage catch-up. Watch some soccer, relax, sleep more, and listen to Harry Potter.
Yes. And also, I don't know, this is also personal, but this is cottage catch-up where we share personal stuff with you guys. So, I mean, to an extent. For the next 2 days, we have a little 48-hour fast lined up. So... yeah. We're going to try and get our bodies into a fasting mode and just drink water and clean our minds, our spirits, our bodies, and all that good stuff. So we're going to try and let you know how we feel in the next episode, how that was, the 2-day fasting thing.
It's good for you guys. I'm just going to go ahead and say it as done it before. I love it. I think it's great. And so we're going to do it.
Yeah.
It's actually a great time to get some reading done,
Yes.
Research, reading. We'll do some YouTube research, some podcasting research, and different things. We're just kind of excited. Or maybe we'll map out some extendable ear editions, all that good stuff. But it's fun because it's crazy how much time we spend like preparing food, buying food, eating food.
We're foodies, but then sometimes you gotta
laying on the couch an hour after we've got done eating food. It's a long process. So we should have a lot of time tomorrow and the next day. Yeah,
it just feels good. I'm excited. I'm excited to do it together. We can just hang out and either get some work done if we really feel focused, or sometimes one of the symptoms could be having a headache and stuff, so we'll prepare for that. We'll drink lots of water. You can have a little bit of chicken broth if you want to too, so, and black coffee and tea is also allowed. So we'll make sure we are hydrated, we stay hydrated during that time. But yeah, we'll let you know how that went.
Yep, that's our plan.
All right,
and on to
trivia training. We have 2 questions each episode, and one question we'll bring for each other. The other one will be from this lovely Trivial Pursuit game that sometimes is, hit or miss. Sometimes, like you said, it's asking for the main character, and sometimes it's asking for when was the first Goblin Rebellion.
Dang. Just slam that down a little bit while you're at it. Okay, let's start with that. Let's start with Trivial Pursuit.
Oh, you want to try this first?
Yeah.
Okay.
You cut all this out,
when my brother and I were young, we used to call upon the magic dice when we were playing board games, and we would make our wishes and then roll the dice. No?
I'm in trivia mode, so I don't know what's going on.
Orange.
Okay. Which Ravenclaw student first tells Harry about Rowena? How say her name?
Rowena.
Rowena.
Is it with a W?
Yeah, it's a W.
Rowena.
Just get the Weena in there. It's getting me. It's getting me. I got to laugh and a mic pop on that one. Rowena.
You know that roh in German means raw?
Wow. What does Weena mean? Rowena, Ravenclaw's lost item. So which Ravenclaw student first tells Harry about the lost item?
In the book? This is a movie, right?
I don't know. Let me check.
Okay, so I don't know if
I
in
have
the
the
book
answer,
it was show. But I think in the movie, it was definitely, if this is movie trivia, then I would say Luna. Or is it Cho? Dang it! Wait. Oh. Cho or Luna? Cho or Luna? Let me think. So
Cho or Luna? Luna or Joe? Sorry.
I gotta recall the scene. It's... I know in the movie, in the book, it was Cho who wanted to show him something. In the movie, it was definitely Luna. Okay, my answer is Luna Lovegood, but I think there was something. Cho wanted to lead Harry up to the Ravenclaw Tower, and Ginny's like, I don't think so.
I do not think so. Luna,
You're up.
you're up. Let's go.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. But it is Luna Lovegood.
Yes.
You are correct for a point.
Thank goodness. Okay,
Good
let's
job.
put that in here.
Okay.
And I'll get another card. And you roll the die.
Yeah. Purple, baby.
Let's go. So give me some purple.
Give me something purple. Yeah. What's up?
Okay, here we go. Which Hogwarts student was a fatality of the basilisk?
Hogwarts student? Oh, that would be Moaning Myrtle. Myrtle Warren.
Wow, you even have the last name.
Oh, come
You're
on.
better than this game. They
Come
are
on.
just like Moaning Myrtle when Tom Riddle was at Hogwarts.
I know what's up.
Gut gemacht.
Gut gemacht. Okay, ready for my question for you?
Absolutely.
What is the name of Hagrid's mother? I love it because you always think I don't prepare for these. You think I am not ready for trivia. We dance around here and we're like, Lottie thought, like, you got your trivia question? You like ready to go? Yeah.
I also have a name question for you.
Oh, good. See, I'm glad I brought this today because I could tell you were over there conniving today. Like, I need to get in the lead.
No.
She's competitive, you guys. I just want to go ahead and say this. Literally, we could have a competition like who can sleep the longest.
Wait, so
Lottie will straight up
his
go into
mother
hibernation.
was the what did I want to say? Elf. Sorry.
Definitely
his mother was
Definitely.
His mother was an elf. His mother was a giantess, and she had a name. Her name was mentioned.
Oh yeah, she had a name. Only real Harry Potter fans know this. Okay, though.
Okay, I'm
Come on
officially
now.
not a real Harry Potter fan.
Actually,
Okay,
let me see here.
classic. What?
It's in this book.
Nuh-uh. In this book?
Chapter 24.
Wow. Can you give me a first letter?
F.
Is it? Okay, can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Is it-
ask.
It's not really a name like a normal human would have. It's very
Very strange.
strange, right?
Yep.
Farah. Fiona. Farage. Falafel.
Nope. So you got it wrong. It's okay.
No.
Good try. I here's the thing. Maybe you got it right because I can't even pronounce it. It's like Fridwulfa. Friedwulfa.
That
F-
sounds like a Nordic name.
Wool-
Friedwulfa?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I like
That's
how you
not
said it.
too far from...
So it's F-R-I-D and then W-U-L-F-A.
Wow, I didn't... That's wonderful that I learned her name.
Yeah. There you go.
Friedwulfa.
I think it says in 1995, Rita Skeeter published an article on Hagrid's half-giant ancestry. She mentioned Friedwulfa by name. Even we're probably saying it totally wrong. I don't know what it is. Even though no one aside from Hagrid, who had told her to leave, knew that name. So it's possible this may have been information that Skeeter somehow picked up while she was spying in her animagus form as a beetle. Don't know.
So I got 10.5. Let's see. All right, Friedwulfa. Now we know. What's his dad's name? Is that mentioned?
That's my next trivia question.
Oh.
So.
Well, if it's not even mentioned, then... Yeah, I also want to know a name for my question, but it's way more common. Who has written all the standard book of spells? There's one for each year. They get a new one each year. The standard book of bells. The standard book of spells is a collection of books written by...
Madame... Standard Book of Spells, Helga Shirley, Cheryl, Cuthbert. I don't know.
No, I'm sorry.
Who is it?
Miranda Goshawk.
Goshawk.
Shock.
Okay, cool.
Miranda
Thank you, Miranda.
Goshawk. Let's see. Actually, who was Miranda? Her book is being taught to every Hogwarts student every year.
Right.
When did she live? 1921. Wait, when does Hogwarts Legacy take place? That's earlier, right? She could have been if she... No, wait, she was born in 1921, so she's later than Hogwarts Legacy. Never mind. All right, Miranda. Well, that's cute. Cool. There's a whole article about her. Maybe one day we'll read more about her.
Okay.
That's cool. All right, so 10.5 to 10.5.
Great. Good job, us. Let's go. Tied. All right, friends. It is time for Chapter 10, Mayhem at the Ministry. It has been an eventful night. After a few hours of sleep, Harry, Hermione, and the Weasleys return to the burrow where Mrs. Weasley is overjoyed to see them all alive and well. She tearfully confesses to Fred and George that she could have never forgiven herself if the last thing that she had said to them was that they didn't get enough OWLs. In her relief, Molly had dropped the latest issue of the Daily Prophet on the ground. Just before Mr. Weasley has Bill pick up the paper, Harry is able to read the dramatic headline, Scenes of Terror at the Quidditch World Cup. The article was written by a reporter named Rita Skeeter. The older Weasleys all seem to know her for her sensationalist writing style, which often shines a negative and sometimes outright false light on people. In this article, she criticizes the Ministry's handling of the situation, describing it as a national disaster with dark wizards running unchecked. Realizing the PR disaster, Mr. Weasley heads to the office, knowing it will require significant effort to manage the fallout. Harry, despite knowing that Mrs. Weasley has a lot of other things to worry about at the moment, can't help but ask if there has been any sign of Hedwig at the burrow. He is still hoping for a message from Sirius regarding his scar hurting, especially after the incident with the Dark Mark. But Molly absent-mindedly tells him that there hasn't been any mail at all. Harry is disappointed, but he decides after seeing the curious looks on his friends' faces that it's time to tell Ron and Hermione about his scar. They react exactly as Harry had expected. Both are concerned. Hermione suggests telling some of the adults and asking for help. Ron tries to downplay things, and when Harry shares his dream about Voldemort and Wormtail, he dismisses it as just that, a dream, while at the same time he shrieks every time Harry mentions Voldemort's name. Still, Ron knows exactly what his friend needs at this moment. He suggests that they play a bit of Quidditch outside, where Harry can try out the Wronski feint to get his mind off of things. Hermione leaves the room, utterly confused at how this could make anyone feel better. Over the next few days, Percy and Mr. Weasley begin spending extensive time at the Ministry. Percy becomes self-important about Mr. Weasley's increased workload, suggesting his father needs to make up for his supposed mistake handling the situation at the campsite. Mrs. Weasley sharply reprimands Percy for blaming his father for Skeeter's article. When Mr. Weasley returns home, he brings bad news. Rita Skeeter has been digging for more Ministry scandals to report, and she was successful. She found out about Bertha Jorkin's mysterious disappearance and the lack of concern among her colleagues to find her. As the kids all prepare to return to school the next day, Mrs. Weasley has already done the shopping for all of her children as well as Harry and Hermione. Ron is absolutely disgusted when he finds a shabby and ancient-looking secondhand set of dress robes with lace and cuffs among his school things. In contrast, Harry's new dress robes are nice, bright green versions of his usual school attire. Harry is always embarrassed when it becomes clear how much money he has compared to his best friend's family. However, he knows the Weasleys would never accept any of it, would he attempt to share it with them. Ron, on the other hand, lets out his frustration by asking out loud why everything he owns is rubbish.
I can't help but feel bad for Ron at the end of this chapter. It's kind of sad. But let's start with the beginning of this chapter.
Okay!
Where I thought when we first get Molly's reaction, I couldn't help but think, maybe did Arthur at least send her his Patronus to kind of let her know and send word that they're okay? Somehow communicate with her, but I guess the distance is too big. I think the Patronus can probably only go so far, right? It can't really travel. Like, yeah, it does make sense that the Patronus would use like a port key to get to Molly. It feels like if you're near enough, you can communicate. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was cool.
Well, what's his name that uses his Patronus to warn them at Fleur and Bill's wedding? at the Ministry, right?
Yes. How did they do that? You're correct. Plus, Snape uses his Patronus as well.
Yeah, it's just the fact that right now in this,
could've.
she hasn't really thought of that in this in terms of her writing.
Yeah.
So it's,
I guess so.
But I mean, yeah, no, you're right. It's
Yeah.
like we're looking for loopholes and plot holes, and
That
Yeah.
would have been cool though.
and in the moment, he's probably just too tired and went to bed and stuff. So
What is his Patronus? Isn't it a weasel? Arthur's Patronus? I wonder. Yeah, his Patronus is a
Weasel.
weasel. It would have been a little weasel coming around the corner. But, at this moment, Molly is super concerned. She's home by herself. All her children and her husband are at this event. And, thinking back, the clock, the really cool clock they have, all their hands were probably pointing to mortal peril right now. Not until they left the campsite in the morning. She was probably up all night long. They tried to get one of the early port keys out of there, but they had to. I think the port key didn't really go back where they started. It was near. They had to go through Ottery St. Catchpole. They had to walk way longer, I think, home. So their hands then moved over to traveling, and they were probably traveling for quite a time. I think she already gets kind of like a relief that all of them move from the danger zone to travel. That means all of them are out of danger.
Sure.
But she was still so, concerned maybe the clock's not going right, or she was still, I don't know, very, oh my God, are they all alive?
Yeah.
So much so that she had to have a little bit of Ogden's old fire whiskey in her tea when they all get home. Safely.
Crazy.
So.
Afterwards she had it or before?
No, it says they all arrive there. She hugs Fred and George and is full of tears because the last thing she said, they had a little argument before they left, and the last thing she said was, you didn't get enough OWLs, and what are you going to do with your life, blah, blah, blah. And that could have been, she just realized, could have been the last thing she said to them.
Right, which is one of my most famous shorts on the internet. It's titled "She Always Knew," and go laugh, have a good fun time.
Right.
One of my bits of evidence that J.K. Rowling was plotting and planning for a Fred Weasley death at the end of this series is right here, where she foreshadows, "Oh my gosh, what if the last thing that I said to you boys was blank, 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 and then you would have died in this, attack, and that's the last thing I said to you." And the first person that she hugs is Fred.
Yeah.
So, not George,
True.
but Fred.
Yep.
And later on, maybe it was earlier, afterwards,
George.
I can't remember, but we always see Fred covered in mud as if he were, it looked, or he was as pale as if he were buried 6 feet under. Stuff like that.
Yep.
There's little tiny bits and pieces here and there, friends, okay? Sorry. Moving on, she was, relieved to see that they're back.
Yeah, so Mr. Weasley says, "Come on now, Molly, we're all perfectly okay," leading her back toward the house. "Bill," he added in an undertone, "pick up that paper. I want to see what it says." So there's obviously the news article about scenes of terror at the Quidditch World Cup. And when they're all crammed into the tiny kitchen and Hermione had made Mrs. Weasley a cup of very strong tea, into which Mr. Weasley insisted on pouring a shot of Ogden's old fire whiskey, Bill handed his father the newspaper.
Well, bless him.
And I looked up Ogden's old fire whiskey. Did you know that it is a favorite of Gilderoy Lockhart?
Really?
One of his favorite drinks. And he told this second-year Defense Against the Dark Arts class in 1992 that he wouldn't say no to a bottle for his birthday.
Wow. Of Ogden's fire whiskey.
Yep. It's famous.
Gilderoy.
Yep.
Jiminy. It's ridiculous. Asking kids, hey, if y'all want to buy me something, make sure it's a bit of fire whiskey. It's crazy.
Straight up, Professor Slughorn was drinking with some of his students.
Yeah.
A little bit, right?
Hogwarts is wild.
Yep.
It's wild.
Okay. So she gets a strong tea with some whiskey, and Mr. Weasley spotted that Mr. Weasley says he was not mentioned by name, but listen to this. If the terrified wizards and witches who waited breathlessly for news at the edge of the wood expected reassurance from the Ministry of Magic, they were sadly disappointed. A ministry official emerged sometime after the appearance of the Dark Mark, alleging that nobody had been hurt, but refusing to give any more information. Whether this statement will be enough to quash the rumors that several bodies were removed from the woods an hour later remains to be seen. Oh, really? Is that Mr. Weasley an inspiration?
I mean, were there bodies removed from the woods?
No.
But later, does Arthur know anything about it? I mean, a couple people were stupefied, and there was a house elf that was moved.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody saw something. Maybe somebody saw Barty Crouch come back later. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think she's just
Spitballing,
churning the rumor mill
right
now.
Yeah, and there you go, friends. That's the danger of doing stuff like that. All right, just throwing things out. Actually, it's what's crazy is that I have seen people just with no evidence whatsoever see something dark and say, well, clearly, or something, they see something and something happens at work and they then go to the darkest place they could go. Well, I bet they were doing blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And you're like, what? Guys, why did you just go?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so crazy. Why? Again, I know there's a dark mark. Okay. And so it's not too far. It's not a huge leap to think maybe there were bodies. It's sort of like you tell a lie that is very close to something that could have happened.
Exactly. That's the power of the media. It's wordsmithing. You can say something where it's like, okay, it's likely that this and that happened, and people will read it as this happened, or people will tell the story again to other people who haven't read it.
Yeah.
That this happened, right?
Right.
It's all about how you use words, and it's dangerous, especially, and we're guilty of this, okay? Especially when you scroll and you get some information from shorts, from internet short videos,
Go ahead and say
long
it.
form videos, right?
Go ahead and say it. Roswell, the crash, 1947.
No, I was also thinking.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I was also thinking about, that, but also
This is into
like nutrition advice, right? Everyone can now give you advice on how to eat, how to work out, how to sleep, how to parent, and I'm not saying all of this is bad information, not at all. I think there's some really good people sharing some stuff that helped them. And that's the most important thing about it, right? Sharing what helped you to help other people. But then there's also straight up, I always make sure now that I read the comments and see what people say. And like if there's something very unbelievable that people share, that this and that happened. Remember that guy who was like the woman was screaming at her and he was just...
Oh my gosh. Oh, no. That was, the power of sound. That was basically that there are certain frequencies that could knock a full-grown man over. And she channeled this spirit power, and she did like a hoo-yah, and then like it just knocked this dude flat, fell over, passed out, and everything. And he's like, and that was a full blah blah. And they're like checking on him, and you're like, that was the most staged thing I've ever seen.
I know.
It is so ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and to some extent,
oh my god, people actually filmed it. People actually did that.
I know. It's crazy, but you got to be aware of that. Some things are very clearly like staged, and some things they seem real. And especially with nowadays technology, people can make things up. And
Sweetie, I'm gonna tell you right now, people are probably like, Ez and Lottie are conspiracy theorists in their feed, because sometimes I think we bring up the most extreme examples. You guys, most of our feed is cats.
Yes.
I was showing my dad
and
shorts
food.
the other day. Cats, food recipes, maybe a little bit about like keto, fasting, different things, the other thing, whatever, working out, motivation, and Star Wars and Harry Potter.
Right.
Boom. That's pretty much it. But my God, I have some friends who send me some stuff, and you guys all have these friends, and it's just like, you have that one friend who it comes across, the 1 in 20 reels or whatever, and you're like, oh, that's weird, and then boom, who's he going to send it to? Me. And I'm like, come on. And you guys know who this friend is. It's Lane. Okay? I'll just go ahead and tell you guys. Lane Smithers, my good friend over at Up Talkin' Tolkien. And we just sometimes, it's like the weirdest things. You're like, man, dude, this is corrupting my feed. Okay? Do not send that over here. I want my kitty cats. I want my recipes. And I want my
Star Wars
motivational, all that stuff. So don't mess with my feed. Sorry if we've messed with yours by sharing in this episode some of the things that are on our feed. But anyway, The power of media, social media, and all those different things. It is crazy. And you do have to be careful with all of it. I will say as a teacher, too, there's a new law passed in the state of Ohio where we have to do something about cell phones. We have to do something about it because it has turned into an addiction. We know it's an addiction for kids, and we know that it's become very unhealthy for them.
Right.
And not everybody. Again, some people have really good parenting. Some kids have good self-control. But if you see that situation, just like if we see any other sort of drug addiction or extra addiction at school, as teachers, we're mandated reporters. Got to report that kind of stuff. We got to intervene.
And that group is a vulnerable group, right? I mean, kids
that would have been us if that would have been.
Yeah, we would like. It's not that like a lack of self-control. It's just like with alcohol and smoking and all that stuff, like you said, other drugs. It's an addiction, and unfortunately, that age group is susceptible to it. They have less life experience. They have less self-control over that kind of stuff, and it's just something we have to protect our kids from.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we do with other things.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, anyway, just it's so crazy that Rita Skeeter does this, and she's it's a really good example, I guess, of how I don't know manipulative she is, and just how she likes to add. It's all for ratings and reviews, right? It's all for the I don't know, like the top headline to make more money, sell more papers, because she puts something extra edgy and catchy in there. Now, interestingly enough, though, and some of you are going to be like, wow, as is a conspiracy theorist. Like on the other side here, you do have people who the government they don't know everything. They don't have the answers for everything. These guys don't know. And so you look at, like, again, a guy like Arthur Weasley who's on the spot.
Right.
And Percy's getting on him a little bit like, well, you probably should have ran that by. Okay, Percy, we're in a moment here. We're in a crisis.
Right.
This man's he's tired. He hasn't slept.
His son was right in that
attack. The dark mark has been cast in the sky, okay, by Harry Potter's wand. And, but with a house elf nearby, it's a mess. It's a mess. So he's not going to come out of there with a clear, precise statement.
No.
It's just, I get a bust on. I need some sleep. And so he's human. Also, people who work in media and in government, they're human. Okay?
Right.
So people make mistakes.
Right.
Whatever. I'm not even saying he did make a mistake, but it's just like people are always trying to capitalize on things, always trying to make $1 or a penny or a galleon or a sickle.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, he is in the eye of the public, and he forgot that in the moment because he was honestly, like, he was protecting his whole family. And think of his position he was in. His older sons all help him to fight these guys. You don't know how dangerous the situation is yet.
Right, yeah.
Right? You got to check it out first. But then also your youngest daughter, your youngest son, and the twins are somewhere in the woods. You hope they're safe. All of a sudden, there's a dark mark. Oh, I mean, what did he think when he just sent 4 of his children into the woods, and the dark mark appears over the woods?
He probably thought one of them was dead.
Right,
I mean,
because that's what he says. Last time they saw it, it meant someone had died. Someone has been killed.
Yeah, it marked
and then
the killing.
he thinks. I mean, he's there with his other sons. We see them. They're all injured, right? They have some little injuries there, so it was kind of dangerous. And then he thinks about, wow, like, if I don't return with all of her children well and alive, my wife's at home, and
it could have been a lot worse. It could have been crazy. It was they're very lucky. Everyone's very lucky that they got out of here and kind of make it through. So,
but of course he's not in the right state of mind to give a statement right after.
And here's the thing: you've got Arthur Weasley, who is an honest, upright, good citizen, working his butt off, doing his thing, right? And so, give him some grace, allow him to make a mistake. Rita Skeeter, no way, she's going to cap on that. Here's the thing, though: Ludo Bagman is a dude who has
he would
issues.
be the man to question.
That's the guy who shouldn't be in a position of power than he is, and he's not checking up on his colleague, and now that is a big issue. The other problem is that here's where it gets a little bit tricky: is that the ministry was sort of like, other departments knew about it. It probably could have been elevated to the level of Minister of Magic, and they could have searched for Bertha Jorkins.
Yeah, Bertha,
Yeah, they could have searched for her, and they didn't. They chose not to.
Right.
So people knew, and then now they Ludo, come on, man, get on that. And next thing you know, now it's in the paper. She's actually gone, and she's been killed, and you guys weren't looking. And now we've got it. Now the Dark Lord's back, for crying out loud.
Right.
Sorry, I jumped ahead to the end of the book.
Yeah. But I mean, is it true that it was kind of like a disaster, and there were some security issues? Probably. I mean, honestly,
probably
it wasn't.
Yeah, probably.
Like we said, crazy that they all just got away. I mean,
yeah, and the thing though people got to remember is that you can plan for a lot of different scenarios. But again, the bad actors, their whole job is to search for the scenario you didn't plan for.
right.
And that's what people forget sometimes is that people are planning and trying to keep everybody safe, but they'll come up with a new way to rob your bank or do something, etc. And it's just, you got a constant vigilance.
Yeah.
That's what Moody says.
Right. Not fake, Moody.
Jamie. All right.
Power of the media.
Power of the media. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Be wary. All right.
Yeah. In all of this, though, Harry can't help but think of Sirius the whole time. He's worried Hedwig has not shown up yet. And it feels like, you know how Mrs. Weasley wants to keep her family close in that situation?
Yeah.
The only family that Harry has right now is Sirius. Of course, he thinks about his godfather and where he is at and why he hasn't said anything. He's worried that he might have been caught. But Ron, and this is very, Ron, you're right. That's smart. Obviously, the Ministry would have reported on something if they found anything regarding Sirius they would have wanted to show.
We got him.
We're in control of this, at least, of this situation.
Right.
But he decides it's time to tell Ron and Hermione about what's been worrying him. He tried to brush it over. I mean, the Quidditch World Cup, all that excitement, he felt like, oh, whatever, you play it down a little bit. Like your worries, because everything feels so good. You don't want to spoil the fun,
right?
At the World Cup. But then this is how Harry describes it too. Too many things seem to fall into place in a bad way.
Yep.
Where this prediction he heard, and he said it, Ron, Hermione, you guys were not there.
You weren't there, man.
It was different because Hermione is trying to make fun, as always, of Trelawney. That she made a prediction, right? But Harry knows that was not really, it was like some deep inner eye that was speaking from Trelawney's soul that she couldn't really control it, nor did she remember it, right?
You know what's crazy? It's like, Harry, all he has to say is like, look, guys, she wasn't forming words in her mouth. Yeah. These were like deep guttural things coming from the bottom of her, like
an impression of that.
Yeah, like, oh, like just, it's crazy.
But I don't know if that would have helped Hermione understand.
She'd been like, what? Okay. Are you serious? But like thinking about it though, once he's there, it's like, you kind of know when it's really going down because I bet he got chills, goosebumps, as we call it. And every hair was standing up on his arm. And he was like, oh my God, like this is real, and you guys weren't there to see it. So that's
especially the information she gave was the Dark Lord's going to return because his faithful servant will make it back to him. And sure enough, Peter escapes. His faithful servant makes it back to him. Harry's scar's end is hurting, and then 2 days later they see the dark mark in the sky. Yeah. And Harry's like, something's up. This can't be all a coincidence. But I think it's interesting the reaction of his friends. He was like in his bedroom already imagining what they would say to this. And he was right. Like he knows his friends very well. It shows that they know each other very well. But Ron's reaction I think is interesting because it feels like he's trying to brush it over. And when Harry even talks about the dream that he hasn't mentioned before with Wormtail and Voldemort, and mind you, he doesn't remember it as clearly as we get the description in the first chapter. Like, we know what's happened, but Harry's like, it's a vague memory of that dream, but he knows that Voldemort and Wormtail were in there. Right. But Ron's like, when you just hear that from someone, you try to make him feel better and say like, oh, it's, it seems like it's just a dream. He says it was only a dream, said Ron bracingly. What's bracingly mean?
Yeah, like he's like
just a nightmare.
Well, it could be that he's recently saying that in terms of like he's waiting for blowback from Harry. Harry's gonna be like no, it wasn't, Yeah. But it's also this almost like he's cautiously kind of saying it was just a dream. Right. Right. I mean, right. Or it's as if he doesn't want to believe it himself. Right. Or he's worried that Harry's gonna, I don't know, that Ron's calling it, like kind of downplaying it, and it shouldn't be downplayed. But Ron wants it downplayed because if it's serious,
he does.
It's not really.
Because in the next moment, Harry does say, "Yeah, but was it though?" And then explains, isn't it weird that my scar hurts? And then 3 days later, the Death Eaters are on the march, and Voldemort signs up in the sky again, and Ron says, "Don't say his name." So he's clearly, I think Ron's very
freaking out,
frightened, like on the edge, and
he's heard about this stuff his whole life.
Yeah.
And now he just got, for the first time, he's really seen, well, he's seen a lot in the first 3 years at Hogwarts. He's seen the clues. He's around the boy who lived.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally right next to a kid who, as a baby, has like stood toe to toe, if you will, sat in his crib toe to toe with Voldemort and survived. And so Ron sees that every day, and now it's like, man, this is real. This is legit. There's the Dark Mark. They attacked us at the Quidditch World Cup. They're here we go.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't want to believe it. He's in denial. Yeah, it's actually sort of foreshadowing to what we will get from Fudge later on. You know, it's just this denial.
A little bit, yes. And here, so then Harry recounts the prediction that Trelawney made. He says, "I told you she went into a trance, a real one. And she said the Dark Lord would rise again, greater and more terrible than ever before, and he would manage it because his servant was going to go back to him." And that night Wormtail escaped. There was a silence in which Ron fidgeted absent-mindedly with a hole in his Chudley Cannon's bedspread.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. It just stood out to me so much how Ron reacts to this whole thing. I feel like...
Yeah, well, one, he's recalling Peter Pettigrew. His rat was responsible for all of that.
He has trauma, with his
trauma.
rat.
And so his rat now is responsible for bringing back Lord Voldemort. That's pretty crazy.
Right.
This rat that was chilling in his room, clearly he's freaking out about it. Jenny has trauma. Like, we forget sometimes all these different characters. We see things through Harry's point of view, but these other characters in each book, they have their own
The Weasleys are so involved in it, yeah.
Yep.
And then he's very happy about that Harry was reaching out to Sirius, and he's like, "Good thinking," said Ron, his expression clearing. "I bet Sirius will know what to do." Like, I think he looks for, almost like he admits, like it's like hard to admit to himself, like something is going on. Like, Harry is right, and deep down he knows that, and he's trying to look for guidance somewhere, and knows he can't really tell his parents about that because Harry wouldn't want to worry them. But like
he's reaching for something. He's hoping somebody
will
will
is
provide.
Hermione.
Yeah.
So is Hermione, like trying to tell Harry, "Hey, tell Dumbledore, tell Mrs. Madame Pomfrey," and just interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the coolest things, I think, is when Ron suggests, "Hey, come on, 3-on-3, Bill and Charlie and Fred and George will play. You can try out the Vronsky feint." Hermione's just rolling her eyes.
Yeah, like nobody wants to play.
Ron, in an "I don't think you're being very sensitive" sort of voice. Harry doesn't want to play Quidditch right now. He's worried and he's tired. We all need to go to bed. And Harry's like, yeah, I want to play Quidditch.
Yeah, right.
And me thinking, actually, I think flying would be something that would take my mind off things too. And like trying out the Vronsky feint after, like bringing the happy memory of the last few days back, why you went there and what you saw.
Yeah.
And just that's all he wants is just try out that move.
Yep.
I think it's pretty cool. Like, Hermione's just like, "Oh, boys, whatever." But I think it was cool of Ron. Like, that shows their friendship is different from, their friendship with Hermione, which is a good thing. Like, it's not, and it could have been, Ginny would totally have been in if it's not like because Hermione is a girl. It's just like she's not into flying at all. It scares her, and she can't fathom how this would make Harry feel better.
Right. To her, it's like going and reading some of your books, like the spell, the level 4, right? Spell book, by Miranda. Goshawk. Yes. So anyway, I would say for sure that it's just depending on what makes you, comfortable and what kind of brings you some happiness and joy. And so for her, it wasn't Quidditch, but for them, it definitely was. And they all are kind of needing to seek something that makes them feel good because, we were at an all-time high and then brought all the way low with the Dark Mark. And now we need to just like get back to normal. Yeah. There's still this aftermath of the scariness at the Ministry, and Rita's writing about it, and it's still kind of ominous. Like, they're still like, what all happened? They don't know who cast it.
Right.
It's a mystery still, and this is all leading into all this excitement with the Triwizard Tournament. So, and we have a person missing. So, when you think about it, if you lived in that community, it's scary, and people would be like, "I don't know, man. That's just kind of, not good." But
yeah, it's especially scary because it brings back so many memories from, Arthur and Molly's generation with the Dark Mark and everything.
Right.
From the first Wizarding War. But what I like though about the next part is, so we get, like you said, a lot of like Mr. Weasley and Percy are not really at home because they're so busy dealing with all the stuff at the ministry. There's tons of howlers, and Ginny, it's kind of a cool scene. It's the night before they're going back to Hogwarts. So the next morning they will go on the Hogwarts Express, and it's the night before. And I don't know, it's really well written, and this is one of the reasons why I think we do love doing the reread instead of just, we could also just read a summary of what happened in the books.
Yeah.
But doing the reread and going back to these scenes that didn't make it into the movie, where they all sit together in the living room and they're all doing something different. Ginny's sitting on the floor fixing probably a secondhand version of her herbology book, and the twins are somewhere in the corner probably making plans for their business again, which Mrs. Weasley does not like. Hermione is deep into her spelling book for this year already studying for the next year. Where Harry and Ron are like, we don't even know what books Ron's mom got us from.
Right.
And I just like how they all are together, but they all are doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Which is so like a nice family scene. And then Mr. Weasley comes home, joins them, eats his shriveled cauliflower because his dinner's gotten cold. It's so late. Before Mr. Weasley comes home, though, we see, again, the clock's moving, right? Mm-hmm. And the clock's really interesting. I wanted to ask you, do you think it's a normal family clock that a lot of wizarding families have at their home? Or is it something very special to the Weasleys? Like, do you think the Malfoys have a clock like that?
I don't know. It feels...
The Lovegoods.
It'd be interesting that the Weasleys, if they're especially one of the poorer families, unless they just value it more and it was something that they spent a lot of money on, or it was passed down in their family, it's a family clock, maybe then perhaps it's something that someone tinkered with. I mean, also it being a clock, is this something that, like, did Arthur add some extra?
Did he make it?
Yeah, some stuff to it.
Did he take an old grandfather clock from a Muggle antique shop, tinkered with it, and made this family clock?
Right.
That'd be cool.
Could be, because they still need, like, normal things, that's like, I mean, they still need things from the Muggle world. Right, like, or they have their own clockmakers for sure, whatever. But
I think so, yeah.
It's
just, but they seem to have watches and stuff in the book, at least.
Yeah, they do, that are special made with, like Dumbledore's watch has all those different planets and everything on it. But yeah, the whole point is that there's some overlap in terms of what So yeah, is this just a special magical clock made by a magical clockmaker, or was it somebody who modified a grandfather clock?
Right.
Especially for the Weasley family. Don't know. I would imagine more families do. I'm imagining if they have it, other families probably do have it. Like the Longbottoms probably have one.
Yeah.
Especially during the time of Voldemort, they could have became more popular, just to track your family. Where are they?
Yeah.
That would have been a big sell, right? Hot on the market. So.
I like that a lot. But even in this family, we have some heads butting. So first, Molly and Percy get into an argument because Percy's kind of like, yeah, Dad kind of messed things up. And then Molly's like, don't you dare make your dad responsible for this. Because she knows, like, he was trying to protect his family. He was not there to work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in this book, we really see Percy having a lot of unpopular opinions. And then he butts head with Hermione about the elf thing again.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, too, when you go into a job, whether you're... Because, for example, like when I was first a teacher and you go in, you're like, okay, people are like, this is your mentor. You need to kind of like follow what your mentor teacher does.
Right.
And
you're trying to learn.
Do what they do. Yeah. And I didn't agree with everything that my mentor teacher was putting down. And my co-teacher, I was sort of like, okay, there's some good. I actually like what this teacher does, and I like what that teacher does, and I like a lot of these different things, and I kind of like, bring them together and form my own opinion. Whereas it feels like, and I'm not trying to elevate myself over Percy, but it just feels like he's going in sort of saying, okay, he may have really, really liked Mr. Crouch and just thought, this is the way it should be done. The way he does it, the way people will respect him. I want to be like this guy, so therefore I'm going to mimic what he does, and I'm going to fall in line and figure it out. He's just trying to work his way up, and he's trying to grow. He's very young, and still trying to understand a lot of different things. But it is a little sad though, because it's like he didn't see that from his father. You know, he's not really. He talks to his father about ministry stuff, but he
They're not on the
admires.
same
He
level.
admires Mr. Crouch versus admiring really his father. But again, that's sort of leaving home and stepping into your own thing and trying to grow. And he wants to grow into to be his own, self, his own prestigious ministry official, right?
Right. He always wanted. He was shooting for a higher position than his father in the first place because they had different motives to go work there. Percy wanted to be in a high-ranking position. I don't think he really cared which department it would be. I think he just wanted to be there to have some influence, to change some things, probably really good motives, actually, to go in. But Arthur, it feels like, we don't know for sure, but he was very happy with, he just wanted to, study or help protect Muggles and their, to deal with, basically build that bridge between Muggles and wizards, even though he knows they're keeping it a secret from them. But he had a different motivation to be there and never really wanted a promotion. He just loved his job.
Yeah, I would also say, Percy, you're right. Arthur wants to. He has different motivations. I think he plays it a bit loose, right? He's definitely a loose cannon. He's definitely willing to just kind of. He bends the rules a little bit. He tinkers with stuff. He does stuff outside of work that's not great. But his values are really good. He has really strong values.
I think so too, and where he starts.
Yeah, morally, just a good person. Some of the things that the rule breaking he's doing is pretty minimal. Wouldn't get in a lot of trouble. It's not like but he's breaking some of the rules. Whereas for Percy, no, that's a no-go across the board. There is more like Hermione, no, originally, until Hermione's like, you know what, we can break a few rules.
Yeah.
But Percy would be like, no, absolutely not. It is the rule. It is the way. He's the one writing some of these cauldron thickness laws into existence, and so to violate them would be wrong. He wrote it. Why would you? This is important. I had to think behind this, and you guys don't understand what a problem it is. And so, to him, his father is one of those people who breaks some of those rules.
Yeah.
Well, just because he's in a position of power in his own department, he's tinkering with stuff that he shouldn't be. The flying car, for example, bad idea.
Right.
Got him in a bit of trouble. He had to explain that one.
Yeah.
So Percy's just different than his father, and I think he definitely has. I don't know. He's more like the Ministry. Arthur doesn't seem to really fit in. Actually, he's in a weird department, and people want him to go higher and excel. To get the promotions, like you said, and he doesn't want them. He's good. He likes what he does, and this is his thing.
But he does feel loyal enough to them that he feels called to go there, even though he is on personal leave right now, and he's still feels there's no one. I don't think anyone has sent him an owl like, Arthur, you need to come in. I think he just feels the responsibility on his shoulders. He needs to go fix some things.
Right. He does care about his job, and he wants to be there and do his thing. But and I get that. Actually, at my job, it's like, look, I want to do my thing. I want to work in my area. I really don't want to step up and do all those other things. Like, other people will want to do that.
Yeah.
Let them do it. I'm good working in my little niche, my little area here at work. But if I do something that's wrong or upsetting to somebody, I'm the first person to come in and say, hey, I'm super sorry about that. How can I fix it?
Right.
What do I have to do, etc. We're good.
Yeah.
And that says a lot about, I think, Arthur, to be willing to go in there and do that. And it's like, Percy, would you be willing to do that same thing that your father does once the realization hits you that you're on the wrong side, or that you're kind of calling out Dumbledore for things later on, and Dumbledore was right all along? When are you willing to apologize and come back home? And he does. And he has this whole moment, but it's like, okay, took him a while.
Right.
Took him a while to do that. That's a part of his growth. He's still very young.
He is.
And at the Ministry, and to come back and say, you know what, because it's hard as a new person going into a career. I can tell you too, and I remember very vividly going in as a teacher, when I did something wrong, it was hard to admit that, hey, I did something wrong.
Yeah. Why?
Because not everyone was telling you did a lot of things right.
Right.
And so you want to hold on to all those different things. And when they tell you did the one thing wrong, you're like, well, what about the 25 things I did right that you never mentioned, and you only spoke up at the one time when I did something wrong?
Because it's expected, right?
But
when you're learning a new thing, growing into a new role or position, that's where you're going to do a lot of things wrong at first, right? I mean, how old is Percy right now? 19, 20 years old?
Right.
Because he doesn't go to college or anything before. It feels like they're leaving Hogwarts, going straight into a job most of the time, right?
Yeah. So he's a junior, and he's in there as a junior, working his way up to under these senior officials.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, yeah, it's interesting, and keep an eye on Percy as we go through the series and basically the relationship that he has with the Minister of Magic and all of it. It's an interesting story.
This last part here is first very funny, hilarious, and then it turns pretty sad. They're going upstairs, Harry and Ron, and this is kind of cool. It's raining outside. It's, again, the night before they go back to school, so they get their things ready. And so kind, Mrs. Weasley, she said, okay, all my kids are out. What I'm going to do, she goes to Diagon Alley and buys everything for her kids and for Harry and Hermione.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure like Hermione's parents gave her some money, and she somehow, we mentioned that earlier, she somehow got money out of Harry's vault. How she did it, we don't know, because apparently you can't really do that. I mean, Harry doesn't even, how?
How did Mrs. Weasley just go up and just knock on the
without Harry?
Hold on, hear me out.
Yeah.
How does Mrs. Weasley go up to Gringotts, knock on the front door? Come on in, Mrs. Weasley. She walks up to the front, and she's like, hey, I'm here to get some money. And they're like, Mrs. Weasley, what are you doing here? Your family doesn't even have a vault. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, that was so mean. But like, no, I'm not here for me. I'm here for Harry. He's my son's best friend, and I'm here to get some money out for him. And it's sort of like, this is sus. Yeah. This is sus. Do you have his wand? What are you doing here?
Right.
Did he send a note? Magically, can he send a note that says, hey,
probably.
I don't know. Is it that he's a junior and she's like he's under her care? Magically, do they know that? I mean, it just seems a little... Yeah. It's just glossed over real quick. Like, she went and got money out of his vault. No big deal. How often does Mrs. Weasley go and do that? You know what I mean? I'm kidding. Yeah. JK. I'm totally kidding. Please don't get mad at me. But
it's just funny. It's just something we noticed. Anyway, so she gets all the things. And one thing among all the things she needs to get for this year is dress robes.
Dress robes.
And Ron is... not amused when he finds his dress robes.
Right, but everyone else is later on. Right. Everyone else is very much amused.
And it's so funny. I wanted to mention how rereading this now, being an adult, like, right in adulthood. I'm not like young adult anymore. Yeah. But I really feel like now I identify more with the mom's perspective. Okay, so Ron is absolutely disgusted at the dress robe he finds. And then Mrs. Weasley comes in. She enters carrying an armful of freshly laundered Hogwarts robes. So not only did she get all their stuff, she also ran a lot of laundry. So all her kids could have fresh underwear, fresh socks, fresh robes the next morning.
Yep.
Okay. Here you are, she said, sorting them into 2 piles. Now mind you pack them properly so they don't crease. Mom, you've given me Ginny's new dress, said Ron, handing it out to her. Of course I haven't, said Mrs. Weasley. And this is funny because, like, she's probably really planned everything out. And, of course, she wouldn't do that. That's for you, dress robes. Yeah. What? Said Ron, looking horror-struck. Dress robes, repeated Mrs. Weasley. It says on your school list that you're supposed to have dress robes this year, robes for formal occasions. You've got to be kidding, said Ron in disbelief. I'm not wearing that. No way. Everyone wears them, Ron, said Mrs. Weasley crossly. They're all like that. Your father's got some for smart parties. I'll go starkers before I put that on, says Ron, stubbornly. Don't be so silly, said Mrs. Weasley. You've got to have You've got to have dress robes. They're on your list. I got some for Harry too. Show him, Harry. And then Harry's are
show him, Harry. Show him those really nice sparkling
bottle green, beautiful dress robes that are new and match your eye color and
they
look
just a slight. There's a slight difference between that and your regular robe.
Right.
But it doesn't stand out that much. Right. So they're just a beautiful color. Nice, brand new, slick. And Ron, didn't he say something like, well, those are nice?
Well, they're okay, said Ron angrily, looking at Harry's robes. Why couldn't I have some like that? Because, well, I had to get yours secondhand, and there wasn't a lot of choice, said Mrs. Weasley, flushing. Yeah. And he was like, Harry feels awful because he doesn't want all this money. He would split it with them. He loves the Weasleys. He doesn't feel like... he feels like they deserve it so much more, but he knows they would never take it. Yeah. And Ron's like, I'm never wearing them. Never. Fine, snapped Mrs. Weasley. Go naked. And Harry, make sure you get a picture of him. Goodness knows I could do with a laugh. And she leaves the room, slamming the door behind her.
Yeah, she's had it.
Well, yeah, you go ahead first.
No, it's wild. I mean, the fact that okay, two perspectives here. You can talk about it from Mrs. Weasley's. I'll tell you from Ron's perspective.
Please do.
I actually remember not all of my clothes were secondhand. All of my clothes growing up. Every single, literally all of them. From church people, from cousins, from whoever's. And it was mix and match, different brand. I had no idea. I didn't know. I had no clue. And I remember showing up and at one point I got a cool pair of shoes. And these kids were willing to pay me money for these shoes. And I was like, cool. I didn't know that they were that cool or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got talked into it by older kids, and they took my shoes, and I got money, and I came home, in socks. Mom was like, what happened to your shoes? But I just didn't know. And I don't know anything about clothes and brands. And it was not something that I grew up understanding. But I do remember showing up for orchestra concerts. And my friends, gosh, they look good. They all had slick jackets, real dapper looking, just everything. And mine didn't fit. Mine were either too tight or too big. And mine weren't fitted. I didn't have a fitted, thing. And all these other guys looked so different than me. And I just felt like, okay, I feel kind of weird, And from 6th grade on, I was like, it was strange. And then my orchestra teacher, Mr. Lawson, taught me how to tie a tie. My dad never wore a tie. Not ever.
Yeah.
Not ever. And he didn't know how to tie one.
Yeah.
And so my mom basically asked me, she said, give this to Mr. Lawson, see if he'll help you tie it. And so I would go, and he taught me how to tie a tie. So I love that guy so much. And I love my dad. But my dad was a factory worker, you know? And so it's just not something we don't wear. And his son is in orchestra, and it's like, okay, go get him some nice clothes and stuff. And I show up and I'm just wearing my white shirt and I don't have a tie, and here, can you put my tie on? And everybody else has their tie on, so they look really good. They've got matching belt and shoes. I don't. They've got overcoats, jackets. I didn't have one. Didn't know we were supposed to. So I look funny, right? And told it's okay or whatever. But you feel weird. You feel like, oh man, am I that kid?
Yeah.
and I was, and it's okay. But so from Ron's perspective, I think you get embarrassed and you're like, oh man, I don't have what everybody else has. And it's a small thing. It's a small, it's not you look back and you're like, it's not that big a deal. And I think parents sometimes are like, it's not that big of a deal. It's okay. There's bigger things. We're worried about putting food on the table, etc. Different stuff. Right. But I didn't know growing. I think most people listening probably to this podcast didn't know we were all poor back when we were, right? You didn't know. You didn't know what food stamps were. You had no idea. I was cutting them up with my sisters. I thought they were fun. I told you that story one time where we got yelled at big time. We were cutting pretty pictures out, and we thought it was funny, and we didn't know. We didn't know those important papers and documents. We didn't know what they were for. Anyway, it's like, so I guess from Ron's perspective, he's just like, why is everything I own rubbish?
Right.
Why is it all just like, ugh, it's
in direct comparison with his friend.
Yeah.
And that's it's sorry if I call it good. It's so good to show you as a reader. Man, we all have our things that we feel like we don't have enough or we wish we would have. But then here is this kid who doesn't have parents, who would give everything for a family like Ron's.
Yep.
But he has all the money from his, that he just inherited from his parents who passed away or who got killed.
Yeah.
And then Ron doesn't think about it, right? It's okay. They're kids and they don't think about it. They just feel. It's just, he's absolutely in that emotion of unfair. Look at Harry. Why did Harry get beautiful, normal dress robes?
Yeah.
Because he has all the money, right? And he has a beautiful snowy owl. He has the best broom out there. And Ron, just in direct comparison, feels like this is his best friend, but man, he can't keep up with that.
Yeah.
But he fails to see his mother, that's now Molly's perspective. Why she gets angry for a second is because she's probably been working she's been worried sick, but at the same time working the last couple of days just as hard as Arthur did because, prepping her kids to go back to school, getting all their laundry done, getting all their stuff, making sure they're all okay, making sure they're all fed. She's taking care of 2 other kids at her house, just friends of Ron's, and doing all this stuff to then your son with a face like, I'm not wearing these. Like,
yeah, and you know what's tough is that I bet you she was at that secondhand store.
And she knew.
I bet you she pulled out a couple that were really like, oh, this would be nice. Ron would really like these. Looked at the price tag and said, oh, dang it.
I know.
Can't
and
do
Ron
it.
is
Puts them
not,
back.
Ron doesn't know that.
And she probably went through a couple of those, right? Pulled out a few and like, oh my God, this one's too, nope, can't do that one. Goes down until she finds 2 to 3 and she's like, oh, that's the best I can do.
Yeah.
That's the best we can do. And you're like, dang, that is, but you're right. It's also it's depending on who you're around or because I had a few friends who were really into the newest shoes, the newest everything. They had it or whatever. But I had a whole other group of friends who didn't have any of that. Mm-hmm. And what I had a new shirt to wear every day and they didn't. You know what I'm saying? So like those people, it just depended. It just depended on the kids who walked to school and who had different, So it depends on who you're around and how it is. Yeah, there's a lot to be grateful for across the board, but it is something that I think
it's also legitimate to feel as a kid in that moment.
It's legitimate for Ron to feel that way at the same time, but also be grateful. And, then there's this whole situation with his family. Harry doesn't have a family. You're right. It's so dynamic and there's so many different things going on. Everyone's feelings are justified. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we're so Hufflepuff thing. Like,
they are though.
Everyone's right.
They really
that's
are
what we
though.
try to do. Right.
Yeah.
Trying to see where everybody's at and where they come from. And I've been thinking about that a lot actually lately, that it's kind of sad, but also that's how it is. How now when we're adults ourselves and we live that life, have all the stuff that adulthood brings with it that our parents used to have, and then they had us. And, as we're kind of, thinking of having a family soon and stuff, I think about my mom a lot. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the podcast either, but my mom was a single mom with 2 kids, full-time, working single mom. And back then, as a kid, you just don't know any different. That's how you grew up. And there's no other, yes, you hear from your friends, okay, they still have both parents, and there's just different models of families. But this is just how, I would never say I had a bad childhood at all. But the reason why is because my mom did everything for us. And not like we didn't have to do anything at home. We definitely had to be included in chores, and we talk about it often. We knew when she needed her downtime, we better be quiet.
You better be.
Be quiet. Or on a weekend before 9 o'clock, you are not waking her up. You know where, if you need food that desperately, you know where it's at. Right. You can get water, all the things you need. You definitely find something quiet to do.
Right. Don't wake mom up.
Right. And just all the things that she did for us, probably putting other things she wanted to do on hold. And not that you always have to do that. She still loved going to soccer practice. When I remember vividly, we were on the train. She packed us a dinner to eat on the train. She took both of us with her when we were very little, so she could go to soccer practice. And my brother, he would play with a soccer ball on the side, and I would just read or draw, and she would just play. And we were all, everyone was kind of they were young adults. She was maybe 29, 30 years old, playing recreational soccer. Yeah. Other adults were there. We were there. Everyone was kind of keeping an eye on us on the sideline. Yeah. And we were just doing our thing. And then we went home late at night, ate our dinner on the train home, and went to bed. And that's, again, something my mom just did for us, but also took us with her, living her own life, and just still appreciating everything she did. As a kid, you don't as much. You do. You love your parents. You give them all your love, but you also don't know all the things they're dealing with. Because how would you know? You're not living in that adult world, right? Mm-hmm. So as kids, we're loving, but also to a point we're still selfish.
For sure. That's why I say all the time as a teacher.
And it's sad that,
Yeah, I'm constantly reminding other adults, and we all need reminders. I need them sometimes too when kids are driving me crazy. But to remind other adults, they're just kids. Right. They don't know. Yeah. And it's all good. And they will figure it out, and it's going to happen later on. And don't get all over people just because they're not there yet. And that's us too. People are looking at us probably like, oh, these guys, Ez and Lottie, come on, you're not there. There's something that we're not. Oh yeah. You know what I mean? Right. And so we'll get there. Yeah. Have some grace on us. Right. Educate us. Help people. Right. That's the thing. But yeah, it's just it's interesting. The series from an adult perspective and looking back on it now and looking at these kids and their feelings, it's totally different from when you read it as a kid. right? And you have different feelings with it. You have different
Right.
feelings, and then looking back now, you're looking more at Mrs. Weasley than you are Ron moping on the bed,
Right.
right? So
Yeah, you're putting yourself more into that, in her shoes. And like, what would I do if my son was like super ungrateful for the things that I at least got for him? I was happy to get something for him that, you know, he doesn't have to go naked. And now he's like, I'm not wearing this ever. And you're like, fine, then go naked.
Yeah, see ya.
It's just,
I know.
Anyway, I don't know.
Anyway.
Makes you think.
Yeah, it makes you think. So this was an interesting chapter, lots of different things. One that we do forget about, as Lottie said, from time to time, and it's good to go back and reread and just remember all the different dynamics with the power of the press and the ministry and government, and then family and all the different dynamics that go into that. It's cool. It's really neat to go back. And I don't even know, because I've only listened to the first 2 minutes of the next chapter, but I'm not even sure if I remember or recall that.
The next chapter either, right? It's because it's on the Hogwarts Express. I don't even remember. Do we get any Hogwarts Express scene in the movie?
We just get Harry with Cho, like the awkward kind of
yes.
So is that what this is going to have? Is it going to have Cho Chang in it? We're going to find out.
I don't know.
We're going to find out, you guys. We're reading
this with you guys, okay?
This is our first read through, okay? Actually.
I've never read this.
Go check out my shorts, by the way. And people, have you guys even read the book? This guy clearly hasn't read the books. Oh, my God. But no, it's so funny that people, depending on, some people just remember certain things more than others, and I don't remember this next chapter very well at all. Yeah. Nor did I remember this one. I was like, oh, okay.
Which is exciting, though. I love that.
That's the point. We were waiting in Prisoner of Azkaban. We're like, I can't wait for Goblet of Fire when all these things that we don't remember, or the few things that we do, like the weighing of the wands and Ollivander. I'm like, that was cool. I remember that chapter in the book, but it's not in the movie.
The bigger the books get, the more is left out. That's just how it is. Yeah. Even though the movies also get longer, but
now maybe in the TV series there will be less left out, or there'll be extra scenes that aren't even in the books, which is actually the rumor. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, friends. Well, hey, there you go. Short chapter. We dove into that, and we'll be back next week with more, with another chapter that we've not read. So. We'll get back to you guys on our thoughts next week, okay?
Yeah.
Anything else? All good?
All good and well.
Good and well. All is well here on the podcast. All right. All right, friends. Hey, that's all for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Shell Cottage Radio 94.7 COZY. We hope you'll join us in the future. We thoroughly enjoy meeting new positive Potter people that don't feel like
baboons.
You like how I just, if I start to mess it up, I just started.
Say it.
I just drip
out
through
loud.
And there it is. Are we doing a Twilight marathon? Say it.
Oh, yeah.
Out loud.
Let's do it.
Let's do it tomorrow during our fast.
Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry, like I have flashbacks to some students who think they're funny. Frau Kirker.
Frau Kirker, yes.
Yes, sir.
I did my homework.
Oh, my God. Okay, sorry.
Why do they do that?
I don't know.
Why do kids do that?
Because they think it's funny.
It's funny.
Funny.
It's just, they just talk weird, and it's just great. Kids are weird. I love it.
They're weirdo.
I'm stuck in forever high school. I'm cursed to forever be in high school, and it is weird. Can I tell you a quick joke?
Please.
Friends who stuck around here at the end of this podcast are going to get a treat, okay? I had a student, shout out to this student, who would I don't know if I've ever told this on the podcast or not. I know I told it to you the other day, and it's hilarious. It's not that funny. You kind of have to see her do it in person. But these other students would come in, and they'd be these are kids who literally over and over and over didn't get their homework done.
Right.
It's a habit. They're not going to do it. So I'm sitting here and I'm encouraging this student, all right, hey, come on, make sure we get that done. We got to get that turned in. It's 2 weeks overdue. So, Frau so-and-so still going to take it. Come on, please get your work done. And oh, Mr. Kirk, I got it. No problem, blah, blah. And this student, bless her, cheerleader, she's a lot of energy. And she's like, oh, yes, girl, go. You manifest that. Absolutely. Yes, manifest it. Come on. Because basically what she would do this over and over with people they were like I'm gonna do this thing, and she's like, yes, manifest. I mean, as if you're never gonna do it. It's never gonna happen. But by saying it, just talking about it, you manifest
kids
it.
are sometimes super funny. I don't want to downplay it. Sometimes they just think they're super funny and they're hilarious, and they're the you know what I mean?
They're the bee's knees.
Yes. And sometimes they actually say something that makes you smile, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the educator, I'm the adult. I can't really laugh too hard at this."
Right, because they're behaving like babbling, bumbling bands of baboons.
Right.
And you're like, wow, it's funny, but I also can't. So please be appropriate. Right. But that one, it did get me. I was like, yes, actually, manifest. If that, and then she had to explain it, and she was like, yeah, they're never gonna do it. So like, I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, it's kind of funny. All right, hey, if you don't miss out on the next episode, then be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us that review, and follow over on social media at fleurandbill.
If you truly enjoy our content, consider supporting our growing wizarding family on Patreon or Apple Premium, where we post extra episodes all the time. You will find all the links down below. Thank you so much to all our current patrons. We appreciate you, to Luna and back. On our next reread episode, we will discuss Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Chapter 11, Aboard the Hogwarts Express. So make sure you tune back in next time, and until then, have a great rest of your week. Thanks for joining us in our shell cottage today. We know it's not much, but it's home. Obviously, yours truly, me. Please welcome your lovely design witch, the fascination of this year, Triwizard Champion herself, and my wonderful co-host, and yours, Lottie, aka Fleur.
Hallo und an einen wunderschönen guten Tag. That's it, right?
Streichholzschächtelchen.
Hallo und einen wunderschönen guten Tag. It is so good to have you back in our beautiful little cottage on the outskirts of Tenworth. Harry, despite knowing that Mrs. Weasley has a lot of other things to worry about at the moment, can't help but ask if the...
You don't have to read it all in one breath. You can
Woo!
Breaks.
Okay, love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
Knox.